Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program of Advancing the Cause. This program comes to you every Wednesday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Coretta McDonald, AA, MP, and President of the Guyana Teachers Union. Because of pressing duties, Comrade McDonald could not have been here tonight to host this program. And therefore, I want to tender an apology for her not being on this program tonight. My name is Dennis Jaikaran, and I will be hosting this program tonight. And so, the topic for this program tonight is the final countdown. The final countdown. And so the issues that we are going to be discussing on this program, and you would recognize that I would not give you an order of the program as I would normally do because of the nature, the importance, and the timeliness, so to speak, of this program. This program would have always been so advised and so encouraged by our very many viewers. And so they help time and again to inform us as to what topic we should speak on and what are the things we should focus on as we are told of the topic. And as I said earlier on, the final countdown. And so tonight we are going to touch on a number of issues. And so issue number one that we are going to deal with, it is a very burning issue. And you know, during this period of this government, from 2020 to date, there has been little or no involvement or a decrease in the involvement of the audited accounts of the various regions, ministries, and agencies. And why I make this point? I make this point to indicate to our viewers, as this program would have been doing time and again, to advise that during the period of the coalition 2015 to 2020, the Office of the Auditor General was as proactive during any period of its operation. And so the point I want to make at this stage, you know that on a number of days each year, the beginning of each year, in January, there is an examination of the number of checks there are remaining, unpaid checks in the sub-treasury of every region, ministry, and agency. And in very many cases, these discoveries would have formed part of the findings and recommendations of the Auditor General. And so let me say to our viewers that in January 2023, 2024, and 2025 this year, when that examination would have been done, there were tremendous number of checks remaining, unpaid checks remaining at the sub-treasury, an indictment on the part of the financial system. And our information on this program is that to date, there are checks to thousands or millions of dollars still remaining at these sub-treasuries and agencies that are still to be paid. Now the question is, were these checks cut, so to speak, prior to the work being done? Or were these checks cut despite the fact that no project was done? But apparently, you can assume and you can conclude that these checks were cut to facilitate works that were not being done. And in some cases, unfinished work. This is an indictment as it relates to the Audit Act, the Financial and Accountability Act. It is a criminal act. And at this stage, this program is calling out the Office of the Auditor General to fix this issue. And both the Finance Secretary and the Accountant General, both of whom are placed at the Ministry of Finance, to be able to manage the appropriation of the budget in each year, they have been a total failure. And maybe they might not have been failures, so to speak, but you can only conclude that the things they do contrary to the act is as a result of instructions given to them so that contractors who would not have completed their work, contractors whose name are on the list with billions of dollars to be paid without any contract being awarded, and these sums of money, it is alleged, are paid in some cases for no work being done, further alleged for work still to be done based on not award, the giving out of specific contracts. Viewers, this is something during this period we should understand what is happening. This program was told, and we very well believe that there are allegations of collusion with heads of budget agencies, heads of allegations, sub-treasuries, contractors, and engineers. If by chance, if these are allegations as put on this program are found to be true, then those four categories or five that I would have spoken of, that I would now repeat: the Finance Secretary, the Accountant General, the heads of budget agencies, the engineers, the sub-treasury officers, and the contractors should all be held for commitment or committing financial criminal activities. How long? The question is, how long would taxpayers be able to wait to see a clean level of transaction in this country? Make no mistake, there is serious collusion among heads of budget agencies, sub-treasury officers, auditor general. These are all allegations, finance secretary, accountant general, and engineers. And there is need for the public to forcefully come out to ask questions as it relates to these illegal, unauthorized transactions. Because for these transactions to be completed, everything concerning the Procurement Act must become applicable. Everything that is stated there on that tender evaluation contract, so to speak, must be fulfilled. And once there are these lapses, so to speak, then these allegations must be investigated. Taxpayers' money are not being properly accounted for, and therefore these sub-treasury officers, these heads of budget agencies, the Office of the Auditor General, the Finance Secretary, and the Accountant General must be held accountable for all of these things. I want to move on the second point. And this has to do, because this is a burning issue. And again, I make reference to when the coalition was in government during 2015 and 20. Every time there's an Auditor General report, you see a section of that report speaking to the issue of outstanding advances. And these outstanding advances are not being paid. And they have been there since 2020. And every day, based on the feedback this program is receiving from heads of budget agencies, regions, ministries, corporations, that this has become a norm, that every day persons are taking advantage of applying for advances and are not repaid. And so I come back to what I said early on. I said early on that once an Auditor General report would have been generated during 2015 and 20, you always see a section of that report pointing to outstanding advances. Our information is that despite the fact that these agencies, ministries, regions, corporations are given advances to persons, there is no system that is in place for repayment. There's no system as it relates to asking those who have these outstanding advances to cause them to repay these outstanding advances. This again is an indictment on the part of heads of budget agencies, heads of corporations, ministries, and agencies, budget agencies. Auditor General, this program again is calling out that there should be a statement to indicate these outstanding advances and a time frame in which these advances should be repaid. And not only that, this program would have been told that very many persons who continue to benefit from overseas trips and missions and assignments are still to clear their outstanding advances. This program is making it clear that every cent that is being given as advances to any state employee in any way or in any form, those sums of money are taxpayers' money. And so teachers, public servants, police, military personnel, do you see why is it? You are suffering from not having your rightful gain as it relates to salary increases and other benefits. It might look insignificant, but when all of these would have added up, it gives you a great figure. And so this program is again calling out the Office of the Auditor General, the Finance Secretary, the Accountant General. And let me tell you something, viewers, about advances. Once upon a time, I used to be the head of a budget agency. And every time you ask for an advice from the Office of the Auditor General or the Office of the Accountant General, as it relates to how do you go about retrieving these advances, you are never told. But they would not be asked these questions now because these advances are not properly recorded and accounted for. These are all allegations that are made from heads of budget agencies, heads of corporations and ministries therein. This again, I'm using the word, an indictment on the part of those who are responsible. I come to the third point. And this has to do, again, you see this in the Auditor General report, whenever it would have been generated during 2015 to 20. There is a section that you call occupation of government quarters. You know, this is stated clearly in the public service rules. Who are or who can or who should be able to benefit from government quarters. And there are two conditions. Condition number one, if you are entitled to and you are given a furnished government quarters, you pay 12%. That is if you are not entitled to rent-free. You pay 12% of your salary for furnished government quarters. If these quarters are not furnished, then you pay 10%. You know what is happening across this country? There's no consideration with that, with the public service rules as it relates to what are the categories of state employees that are eligible for, in two cases, one, rent-free quarters, government quarters, and those who are entitled based on their appointments. And this program is not against that. This program is bringing it to the attention to show the level of discrimination. This program is bringing it to the attention of our viewers for them to understand that as it is now, that these persons who are occupying government quarters and are not so eligible, qualified for based on the public service rules, are told because we would have accommodated you and because we are accommodating you, you have a duty to ensure you vote in that direction. This is not right. It is not right. And so I come back to the Auditor General. You know, fear, as they say, fear must be feared. Observe the rules. Let the thing happen in the correct way. This program is reliably informed also that in some cases, some people do not pay despite the fact they are not entitled to, based on the public service rules, to government quarters. They do not pay rent. They do not pay utility bills. They do not pay for weeding and cleaning of the compound in which they live. And so this is an extra burden, an additional cost to our taxpayers of this country, because it is taxpayers' money that is being used to facilitate this irregular, unfounded, and compromised situation in the public service. And so again, Auditor General, it might be a good thing if you can be able to sort this out as it relates to the situation. Before I go further, let me just make an important point. And this question came to this program last week. We were not able, because of time, to answer that question. But I'm going to link what I'm saying to a number of things. And so the question would have been asked, if the mayor of the town of Anna Regina is a full-time paid employee, the answer to that question that this program is going to bring to the attention of our viewers is that the answer is A, resounding yes. The mayor of the town of Anchorage, this is no allegation. This is what is happening. He is an appointed lecturer at the Eskimo Technical Institute. And by virtue of him being the mayor of the town of Anna Regina, he would have been seconded there to perform such duties. And so he receives public, general members of the public, viewers, understand the scenario that this mayor is a full-time paid employee by all of us taxpayers of this country, by the state. Don't let him fool you, or don't let anybody or organization or agency try to pull wool over your eyes. He is paid every month by the Ministry of Education through the Eskimo Technical Institute for non-performance of his duties. Let me tell you something about this, because there is need for investigation. There is a state vehicle assigned to the town of Anna Regina. And when you say the mayor, it is not by virtue of the person. It is the office of the mayor and town council. And so that vehicle would have been assigned for work to be done. For the past 3 months and prior to that, this vehicle would have been used on a daily basis for not doing the appropriate work of the town council. But there are allegations that this vehicle is being used on a daily basis, allegations therein, so that the mayor of the town of Anna Regina can do his personal and political work. This is an indictment. This here is, I don't know who is the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. I don't know who is the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. But this program is bringing it not only to the attention of the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development and the Permanent Secretary, who is the custodian. Let me make that straight. Not the minister, the Permanent Secretary, who is the custodian of all of these properties that are so entrusted in these different LDOs, being in local democratic organs, the Anna Regina Town Council being one. This program hopes that logbook, because the mayor does not have a personal vehicle assigned by the ministry, it is assigned to the town council, and therefore there ought to be a logbook based on the Auditor General prescription or calling. And this program is now calling out the Auditor General for him to be bold and show the public on a daily basis the recordings of the logbook, the consumption, so to speak, of fuel and lubricants, and the journeys that would have been undertaken. That is an indictment. So the allegations would have been that the mayor is using the state vehicle, taxpayers' vehicle, state vehicle, to do personal work. And recently, for the past 3 months, further allegations that he is doing political work with that vehicle. this program would have been reliably informed that up to this date today, sometime around 4, 5 o'clock today, that vehicle, whoever was driving it, it came to the attention of this program, was doing surveillance. I want the public to know, was doing surveillance on the office of the People's National Congress Reform Congress House in Anna Regina. And if there is any doubt, there is evidence of the pictures therein and the time therein. And so we are bringing it to the attention of this. But let me say this, and this is not a threat. Let the mayor put it in his pipe and smoke it, so to speak, that whatever surveillance he and those are doing, he is not going to intimidate any member of the People's National Congress Reform. This is not a threat. This is telling him. Telling him. And so those who are listening to this program will very well know what state apparatus is being used for at this time. Now, if you go to Anna Regina and you look at the compound of the Anna Regina Town Council, a state property, a property that is owned by the taxpayers of this country, is fully decorated by all things therein for PPP campaign, flags and what have you, on the fence and on a building. And so viewers, it might not only be the Anna Regina Town Council. It might be other buildings across this country. Bridges in this country are public property. And therefore, what is being done is an indictment. But you know, the People's National Congress Reform is a very orderly and disciplined party. And at no time we are going to go or venture out into desecrating public property as they are doing. This program is told from the inside because we are very well, we very well believe that what we were told, that a number of agencies are renting sections of that building, the lower flat of that building, or referred to as the ground floor. And the persons would have indicated that it is difficult for them to perform their duties because that building in the lower flat, the ground flat, is used for storage of facilities and other things related to the PPP. How can this be right? How can this be right? And this program is bringing it to the attention of the public so that we can very well understand that public property, taxpayers own properties, state properties are being desecrated, There are further allegations that this mayor, once he recognizes that you are not in support of the PPP, he tries to target you. Let me say to the public, once you know this is happening, there's a court of law in this country. Ensure that you are secured by your best attorneys at law, so that in the event that the mayor and town council of the Anna Regina Town Council would want to do anything contrary to the laws, take them to court. Take the mayor to court. Don't think he can't go to take him. I think somebody should take him to court so that he can very well understand his real function. And so I thought it fit that this program, based on what would have been asked, that we should be able to bring it to the attention of the public. Now, you know, on Friday of this week, next another 2 days, today is Wednesday, our friends, our family members who would have served and continue to serve in the disciplined forces of this country, and let me name them: the Guyana Defense Force, the Guyana Police Force, the Prison Service, the Fire Service, and whatever appendages there might be. These servicemen over the years were not treated well in an oil-rich country. They were used, and they very well believed that they were used, and they did it because they want to secure their jobs. In many ways, that these things are not related to their job. And so this program wants to say to all of you servicemen and women that are listening, and if you are listening, say it to those that are not listening: you have not been treated rightly by this government. From the feedback we would have had on this program, on a daily basis, you would have been discriminated against. On a daily basis, it is alleged that you were targeted. And so this program wants to say to you that there's only one political party or a coalition that really and truly cares for you. And that is this coalition, the APNU. You know, on Friday of this week, I said it early on, but I didn't complete that part of it. All of you in the military services, police, the army, the fire service, the prison service, you will proceed to vote on Friday. Whichever polling station you are going to, ensure that there is only one party. And you know that would bring that justice to you. That would retain in you the pride and dignity that you deserve, and that is the APNU. And ensure that you do not vote for any other party besides the APNU. The APNU, servicemen and women of this country, is the only coalition in this oil-rich economy that you did not benefit from over the past 5 years. You were discriminated against. This is the only political party coalition, so to speak, that would relieve you, that would cause you and your family to live a good and happy and rewarding life. Your family, your children, and so that you can be comforted as you vote for the APNU on Friday. We have always enjoyed your comfort, your company, and we want you to continue to enjoy, like we would have done, your company in every way and in every form. We want to allow you to benefit from the resources of this country. And therefore, this program is appealing to you on Friday of this week to vote overwhelmingly for the APNU. As you go into that polling booth, think about nothing more. Think about where your salvation lies. And your salvation lies when you look at the palm. You vote 2 times. At the top, you vote for your national elections. And at the bottom, you vote for your regional elections. And as you put your X next to the palm at the top, we ask you to put your X next to the palm at the bottom. And your salvation is going to begin. This is the only way out that you, our servicemen and women, can be able to benefit. Let us turn our attention very quickly to some issues as it relates to education. You know, this government is busy going about every region in this country, opening buildings, schools, and other facilities that are incomplete. And so 2 days ago, the Tushin Secondary School in Region 3, that should have been completed 2 years ago, still not complete, 80 to 85% complete, was opened a few days ago. And any of us who live in Region 3, if you go right now, check the external drains, check the internal drains, check the fence, check the pieces of furniture that are there, both the furniture for learners and our teachers. The electrical work is 75% complete. Go and check it. Plumbing and sanitary facilities are 80% complete. Stairways are still to be properly completed. And so they are opening, or they would have opened, a secondary school, Tushin Secondary, that they are boasting about, as a total is about 80% complete. How is it? Taxpayers are paying these sums of money and not completing these projects, and they are opening. You know, on this program, but I'm going to come to health issues. So CSEC results would have been out. Very, very poor results. And they are going to boast about the results. But you speak to these head teachers and you speak to these regional education officers. I spoke to 8 out of the 10, education districts, 11. I spoke with 8 out of these heads of education departments. from yesterday and today, 8 of them, because the other 3 I did not get in contact with them. And I asked them to say to me, make that comparison. While oil money was not there, and while there was not so much of financial intervention, not gainfully being monitored, and make that comparison with your result. Mind you, some of them are new. And despite the fact they appointed some of them politically in December last year when they went to heads of education department meeting, some who are still unfit for the job, making a mess out of it, but they are good of spending money and not accounting for money. This is not the cause as portions on our heads of education department. But they have faithfully reported that when you make that comparison without oil money, while the coalition was there in government, that the results of CSEC is as poor as ever, despite the fact the numerous interventions financially and otherwise. You know, they have a math specialist in the Ministry of Education. And he cannot, in any way or in any form, cause these things to happen, because there are allegations that whatever interventions there are as it relates to the supply of materials for our learners and our teachers, that only certain suppliers, these are all allegations, only certain suppliers are made to do that. And so if this is the case, it is first of all discriminatory. And the second aspect of it, when all of state fund and money is being spent and the desired results are not there, then the education system as it would have been from 2020 to now, a tremendous failure. So don't let them go about telling you. Let me tell you about the results. Let me say to you, don't let them fool you. Ask the Minister of Education, ask the Chief Education Officer. From the time those results were sent, and they tell you about preliminary results. In preliminary results, there would be only about 1% of our learners that would question anything. And that is insignificant. Insignificant as it relates to aspects of measurement and evaluation in the education system and CSEC. And so when they say to you is preliminary results, it's just about a 1% that would question the results. And you know what is happening? They have set up a system in this country called Guyana, oil-rich country, long ago. And based on the structure, there's no change in the structure. The person who heads examinations division is the superintendent of examinations. You know what they have done now recently in this 2020-2025 period? They have placed a deputy chief education officer, not in the structure. They have placed an assistant chief education officer, examinations, not in the structure. They have placed a senior education officer, not in the structure. And none of them are performing the duties. And so these duties are left to the superintendent of exams, who is knowledgeable of every aspect. But what they would have done, a deputy chief education officer examinations, a senior education officer assistant, all they would have done is to put their friends, families, favorites, members of the PYO and members of the PPP in positions that they cannot function. All of them are a waste of time, like the chief education officer. Did you listen to him as he tries to do some analysis and present himself? That was a waste of time. He doesn't know what he's speaking. He doesn't know a thing about measurement and evaluation. And when he was reporting and making some comment about the National Grade 6, the minister or the PS or the CEO or all the senior officers there, they do not understand that the National Grade 6 assessment is not a criteria reference assessment. It is a norm reference assessment. And I'm not going to explain to them what a norm reference means. Let them go and find out. I don't know what books they read. Let them go and find out. Because they are a waste of time in the ministry. So ask them, the CEO, ask the minister, why is it so many days would have passed after and they talk to you about preliminary results? Why is it they have not done the matriculation as per region, as per school, and the nation or the country as a whole? You know why they are not doing that? Because the matriculation is as poor as ever this year. I have a number of results from secondary schools across this country. And in some cases, the matriculation, can you imagine that, viewers? The matriculation is 0%. And you talk about these investments in education. But yes, these investments financially might be there. But these monies are going into the pockets of friends, families, and favorites of the PPP. On the other hand, the entire ministry is poorly managed. Poorly managed. And our teachers are there feeling the squeeze of this situation, so to speak. And you expect our teachers to do wonders in the classroom while you provide an opportunity at the higher level for other persons to so benefit from these interventions. So at this stage, I've been spoken about the CSEC results, despite the fact that the results are so poor in an oil-rich economy, in a state in which there would have been very many investments. I want to offer, this program would wish to offer its congratulations to all our learners who would have had their results, and to all our hard-working teachers who would have been responsible for these results, despite the fact that you were betrayed. You were betrayed by those who you entrusted your confidence in to lead the Guyana Teachers Union during the last triennial. And so, teachers, like the military, make no mistake. When you go there, teachers, I appeal, this program is appealing to you. When you go on that date, the 1st of September, to cast your vote, ensure that you do justice to not only yourself, but this country that is an oil-rich country. Placing your X next to the palm at the top for regional elections and at the bottom for national elections. And I close with CSEC by saying something. Overall CSEC pass rate at grade A and senior secondary schools. They have listed 25 schools here. I'm not going to call the school that is at the top, but they say that pass rate is 95.74. They have said that, right? What is the matriculation rate of this particular school? What is the percentage pass in mathematics and English? Let them tell you that. And then at number 25, I'm not going to call the name of the school. It says here 77%. Let them tell you what is the matriculation rate of this school. They are not going to tell you that. And then there are some high-flying schools that would not before that would have not been performing at certain. Let them also say to you what is the matriculation rate of these schools. They wouldn't tell you that. You know, during this period of the supervision of the SBAs, I want our teachers to know, because if you were not betrayed by those who you entrusted your confidence in to lead you at the level of the Guyana Teachers Union, and because at that time they did not, because they were still in office at the Guyana Teachers Union, you are still to be paid your supervision fees for SBAs. So teachers, the Guyana Teachers Union, under this management and dispensation, would have so organized and so put arrangements in place, and I want the world to know, so that if they further betray you, not this time not the former management of the union, but the ministry. You know, the Ministry of Education, there are allegations that there is allegations, we don't know, this program would have been reliably informed, that the head of the human resource management, whatever you call it there, is 80 years old. And it is further alleged that it was this same human resource manager, allegations, that tried to speak nice on the part of the teachers, but would have betrayed them. Teachers, I want you to know that. These are all allegations. But the Ministry of Education, based on what I have before me, says that this money is going to be paid before the 30th of September, 2025. Remuneration for SBA marking. So teachers, we bring this to your attention here. And for SB, what you call it, the CSEC, cool. Let me come to deal with some health issues. Again, in Region 3, they opened a 85% completed hospital at the Kinjan. And why I say 85%, that is the information that came to this program. And so that is the physical infrastructure, so to speak. 15% still to be completed, which would include electrical work, plumbing, sanitary facilities. I am not going down the line where it has to do with the supply of pieces of equipment, medical equipment and facilities That is at 0%. Don't let them fool you. There's a building, but the facilities they're in are not there. They are moving persons, health services employees from the Lenora Cottage Hospital, from of the health centers, and from the West Demerara Regional Hospital to do services at the new regional hospital in the Kindred. And these facilities, the West Demerara Regional Hospital, the Lenora Cottage Hospital, and these health centers are without health services personnel. But what they go to the Kindred to do is nothing, because they are complaining that all they do is to pay additional sums of money to get there, because in some cases they have to pay special hire to get into where that hospital is located. And these are all additional expenses to our healthcare employees. They are complaining bitterly. You know, some time ago, this program made mention of that there are three hospital administrators at the West Demerara Regional Hospital. If you have three of those, what is the work each is doing? And there's another part when there's an auditor general report, something that you call inventorized or authorized staffing. How is it the auditor general is accounting when there's an establishment to cater for three hospital administrators, when the inventory, the entitlement calls for one? Viewers, these are the things happening in this country as it relates to all these deficiencies. And so you're paying three persons to do one work. Taxpayers' money not being properly diverted and spent in a meaningful way. Let me come to Region 2. And let me repeat so that persons can better understand that in the first case, there is a label or a sign that tells you Lima Regional Hospital. And so that hospital is located in Coffee Grove. Now, this program went at pains to advise you, if there was an existing Lima Regional Hospital and then that facility, the physical infrastructure would have moved to Coffee Grove, then because it was so gazetted as Lima Regional Hospital, but now located in Coffee Grove, it would go with the name Lima Regional Hospital. That was not so. It's the first of its incomplete kind in Region 2. And therefore, it should have been named Coffee Grove Regional Hospital. But you know, the arrangement that they had with a certain businessman in this region, that infrastructure being built on land that is about 3 to 4 acres, that there was a level of bartering with this businessman to have about 40 or 50 acres of land, mind you, 3 to 4 acres for 40 to 50 acres of land in Region 4, prime land, so to speak. And so you see what is the reason, one of the many reasons why they did not name it Coffee Grove. Because people would know, but this program is going to tell you that. And right now, they would have put a fence, a perimeter fence around that infrastructure. And the land space there is limited for what is to be done. Viewers, let us understand that our money, state facilities are being wasted. This program indicated to you some time ago, 2 weeks ago, that they were about to open that hospital last Saturday. And because this program indicated to the viewers in Guyana and across this world that that facility is 75% completed, they would have rescheduled it. And from then to when they are proposing to opening, I understand on Saturday, no work would have been done. So it is still 75% completed. And they are going to open that facility as proposed on Saturday, another few days from now. Taxpayers, can you see where your money is wasted? Now let us turn our attention to the staff. Like the Dickensian Regional Hospital, they would have moved our nurses and our healthcare providers from as far as the two ends of this region, 20 miles span, so to speak, bringing them so that they have to pay extra money for transportation, denying the persons who go to these facilities, Oscar Joseph Cottage Hospital, the health centers along the way, Soddy Public Hospital, the health centers along the way. They have moved our nurses and our doctors and other healthcare workers, allowing them to be there on a daily basis, denying those patients at these facilities they're in from the necessary health care. And so instead of them providing a higher quality of health care, the health care is in a further decline. These healthcare providers, doctors and nurses, are complaining bitterly of the extra money they have to pay to get to Coffee Grove. Not only that, they say when they go into that building, it is an incomplete building, electrical. Now, some of them up to today, when I spoke with them, they said it was difficult for them to be able to use the sanitary facility because it was not flushing. Can you imagine that? It is not opened as yet. It is not commissioned as yet. It is 75% complete. They are putting these persons in there, and these toilets are not flushing. Can you imagine if they have intention to take patients to that hospital? Can you imagine when there is an increase in the number of health providers at that facility, what would happen to these sanitary facilities? The lighting system, when some of these doctors check where they have to operate from, it is inadequate. The type and pieces of furniture, not only inadequate, but not up to standard based on modern health facilities and healthcare providers. Yet the Minister of Health tries to rebut our comrade leader, Comrade Aubrey Norton, when he spoke about certain things in health. He tried to rebut that, but he did not have enough evidence and facts to rebut. So he was sailing as normal. He was sailing. Health is a serious business. And while our health providers would want to do their best in ensuring that they provide their best to the patients that they attend to, the system is not allowing them to do that. The facilities they're in and the appendages they're in are not allowing them to do that. And the level of management also is not allowing them to do that. And they are complaining bitterly that at the level of the administration at the Saudi public hospital or public hospital, Saudi, whichever you want to put it, that there is allegation a retired hospital administrator, allegedly not adequately or at no time would have been qualified for the position, retired and is still there on a contractual basis, is not providing the kinds of leadership that is necessary. And from all indications, and we very well believe that, based on the reports you would have received, that she is doing a mess of the job. Minister of Health, don't try to rebut our comrade leader. Try to fix the problem. You have a chance to fix the problem. Don't bring back your comrades on retirement to do a bad work. Health services, important. Like the regional administration that they bring back a whole set of EPMA person, a superintendent of works, and a whole host of them, and blocking other young persons from being employed and promoted. You have a superintendent of works or buildings or roads, what is it? He doesn't even know to make a bill of quantities. And he cracks his neck all about the place, giving a pure impression that he knows the work. That is what is happening in the government service, where taxpayers' money are being used for not receiving the desired and adequate results and the work to be done. And so there is need for us to pay attention to that level of what is happening in the health sector. In the health sector, across every interior, riverine, and indigenous communities, and don't let them fool you, that this program would have been reliably informed that there is tremendous shortage of drugs and medical supplies. There is further allegation that in some cases, when these drugs allegation, and listen to how the allegation would lead, when these drugs and medical supplies get to some of these facilities, there is an arrangement, allegation. There is an arrangement for somebody to benefit from them, so it moves from that health facility into the hands, allegation, of private individuals. So you have to pay. The patients would have to pay large sums of money for state facilities. Minister, if these are allegations, try and find out. Don't try to rebut Comrade Norton because he said the truth. He said the truth. And you was able to correct that. And I know some of you would have a field day when you come to that the opening of the Lima Regional Hospital, especially when you're listening to this program. Well, you heard my name early on, but I'm not afraid of anything. So if you spend half of your time, all of you that would speak, talking about this program, then it would be good that you have nothing to say to the people therein. So we talk about that there in terms of the shortage of. Let us deal with the point of, because this has been coming to this program time and again, the operations of the Essequibo Funeral Home. There are allegations that the now regional hospital administrator, retiree, allegation has all the information as it relates to the operation of the Essequibo Funeral Home. This program was reliably informed that there are about 4 or 5 persons that are the owners of this Essequibo Funeral Home. Viewers, let us get it in. There are about 4 or 5 persons who are the owners of the Essequibo Funeral Home. And so when we believe that it is a government or state entity, we are misled. But that is not the story. The story is that the employees therein at that facility, they are all paid by the state, taxpayers of this country. And so you get the link there. It is alleged that 4 or 5 persons own this Essequibo Funeral Home, but there are allegations that the staff therein are paid with state funds, taxpayers' money. It is further alleged that all works to be done, whether it would be repairs, rehabilitation, extension, providing pieces of equipment and facilities, it becomes the responsibility of the state, taxpayers of this country. It is further alleged that all the utility bills, and I understand electricity takes a very big chunk of the utility bills there. These bills are paid by the state, taxpayers of this country. It is further alleged that a vehicle or the vehicles therein are vehicles owned by the state taxpayers of this country and are assigned there to do work. The maintenance of those vehicles are done and money paid for by the state. And so this program is bringing it as it is so that you can see where taxpayers' money is being spent in a privately owned company called the Essequibo Funeral Home. And so, viewers, this is an indictment. And this program would hope that the Auditor General will go one step more to use the allegations made to find out, to justify or to not justify what this program is saying. These are all indictments, infringement, waste of, and squandering of taxpayers' money, state money. And as taxpayers of this country, we should be concerned. There's going to be an addition on this program the next time as it relates to the real operations, as it relates to what you call post-mortem examinations, autopsies, how it is being done, how monies are being paid, who monies are being paid for, where the coroner's report are being prepared, and which business place it would go at adventure, so that that can be transmitted. Confidential record in the hands of a businessman in this region. These are all allegations. Viewers, I think we had a rewarding program. And we want to thank you very much for tuning in. Please continue to send in the kinds of information that you'd want us to speak about on this program. We will do that for you. And so tonight we want to say thank you very much. And may God bless you. Have a wonderful and rewarding night. Thank you very much.